This meeting is being recorded and summarized.
We have a quorum? Oh, yeah, we do. We got 5. Okay. Granted, she doesn't count towards the quorum, so, yeah. Public comment sign-in sheet? All right, good afternoon, folks. I'd like to call the April meeting of the Environmental Resources Committee to order. We're going to start with item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Following the pledge, we'll have a brief moment of silence and reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to item number 3, public comment, 15-minute limit. I've got one member of the public that wishes to speak today, Lionel Wisniewski. Considering we have the 15-minute limit, I'll give Lionel the entire 15 minutes to speak if he so chooses to use it. So, Lionel, if you want to approach the microphone in the back of the room, and I believe for public comment, our rule is name and municipality. Okay, so if you just state your name and municipality, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lionel Wisniewski. I'm the chairman for the town of Reed Brock, and I come here before you today to speak about the wind energy ordinance, which is on your agenda. Okay. We are asking for a motion to review and to pass the wind energy ordinance for the town of Reed Brock for the following reasons. We have our own zoning. We have committed a year to the due diligence in this process. We are not the first township to pass such an ordinance, although I understand licensing agreements have been passed. So I'm concerned that at this late moment, there may be discussion to table this for another month, pending county review of your procedure. I offer this in support. Our ordinance does not create nor permit any detriment to people, their health, any natural or biological resources. In fact, it seems that if anything, our ordinance is diametrically opposed to that. We are focusing instead on the safety and the health of not only our people, our domestic and wild animals, our natural resources, and our community. We are currently working with the county to update our comprehensive plan, to update our zoning ordinances. We have spent much time and money in the due diligence on this resource. I have more material than you want to support any question that may come from the committee on behalf of this. I thank you for your time, and since I had delayed the meeting, I will end my comments here. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item, got too many papers, I apologize. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the March 5th, 2024 committee minutes. Motion by Seefeld, second by Ritter to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We will move on to item number 5, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. A, public hearings, review possible actions, and possible recommendations to the county board for its consideration. County zoning changes, we have 5A1 and 2. 5A1 reading Sean Jansen, rural residential to commercial, town of Plover, and 2, Tim Vreeland on behalf of Diane Lice, Farmland Preservation to Neighborhood Commercial, and Neighborhood Commercial to Farmland Preservation for the town of Marathon. I'd ask that anyone joining us electronically, please mute yourself unless you are talking. Anybody joining in person, please mute your electronic devices. Marathon County ERC is now meeting in public hearing on the location plan, specifications, and purposes of the following projects. 5A1 and 5A2. I would like to introduce the members of the committee, myself, Jake Langenhan, Supervisor Drabeck, Supervisor Ritter, Supervisor Vensky, and Supervisor Seefeld. We also have Marilyn Bend, our Wisconsin Towns and Villages representative, joining us by phone today. We also have staff needed for the first supporting role. The establishment of the ERC is required by law for purposes of administration of county ordinances and land conservation programs. The committee must follow state laws and local ordinances as written. This committee cannot change or ignore any part of the ordinances or state laws, so must apply the laws as written. The purpose of this committee is to hear and decide on proposed ordinances and ordinance revisions, rezoning petitions, and provide direction on land conservation and planning programs. The ERC will give a full and fair hearing to any person applying for a rezone petition. A taped recording is being made of the meeting, which will assist with preparation of written hearing minutes. The committee is interested in hearing all pertinent comments and questions. Each hearing will be opened by reading the public notice and allowing staff to present a staff report, including evidence from any on-site inspection. The applicant and anyone wishing to testify will be sworn in and allowed to give testimony. Witnesses will be called in the order of those first in favor, second opposed, and then third as interested may appear. The committee may ask questions to the zoning staff and applicant. It is necessary that we set a reasonable time limit on individual statements on the overall length of the hearing. To promote orderly discussion, anyone wishing to present oral testimony or ask questions relating to the hearing should state your name and present your testimony or question so it becomes part of the official record. We request you avoid repetition. Once the committee has all the necessary facts, the chairman will close the hearing, allowing no further testimony, and the committee will deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the standards in the ordinance. No additional testimony from the public is allowed during the deliberation. However, the committee may question staff for purposes of clarification. After a decision is made, the committee will proceed to the next hearing. Many of the decisions made by the committee are a recommendation to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, who will take up the matter at a future county board meeting. Please contact staff for more information regarding this county board process. So the committee will now hear the application of 5A1. We have Sean Jansen, rural residential to commercial, town of Plover, and we will begin with our staff report. We have Garrett for that. Start by swearing you in. Garrett, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed, sir.
All right, this is for Sean Jansen, petition to rezone land, staff report, April 2nd, 2024, for the Environmental Resources Committee. The petitioner is Sean Jansen, located at 234-470 North Pole Road, Burnham Wood, Wisconsin, 54414. Property owner is the same. Location of rezone, area proposed to be rezoned is located on North Pole Road, approximately 1/2 mile north of the intersection of North Pole Road and County Road Z. The petition of Sean Jansen to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County Chapter 17 Zoning Code to rezone lands from RR Rural Residential to C Commercial as described as part of Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 18777, located in part of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 16, Township 29 North, Range 10 East, Town of Plover. Area to be rezoned to C Commercial is described as Lot 3 of the preliminary CSM, parent parcel as shown. Town of Plover Town Board met on February 13th, 2024. Environmental Resources Committee for Marathon County is meeting today, April 2nd, 2024 at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On February 13th, 2024, the Town of Plover Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee. Staff recommendation, the rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan and as indicated by the town resolution. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend that the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
Questions for Garrett? Supervisor Drabeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, on page 21 of the packet there, down about halfway on under A with a line under it, it goes on to say the need for the proposed land division to make a new parcel suitable for a part-time mechanic shop. do they really want to, isn't it be like a full-time mechanic shop? I was just wondering why it was part-time.
No, the property owner has another full-time job. He does work on his own vehicles, plus he does do some work on family vehicles, which technically would then make it a commercial or part-time mechanic shop. The reason we're separating it out is in case in the future, he has expressed the possibility that it could be used as a full-time job or a more, a larger part of his income, and that's to facilitate that in the future.
Thank you.
And he currently can't do that in rural residential?
It would be a major home occupation. Part of the reason is this also fits because the building that he wants to construct is larger than the district standards allowed in rural residential.
Got it.
So in order to meet that request and that requirement, he would have to make the rezone here to commercial.
So part-time, but he's building a,
He's building it, yep.
okay. Fair enough. Any other questions for Garrett?
I do believe the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Sounds good. Seeing no other questions for staff, I think we're good there. So now we'll go into the public portion of the public hearing. I'll call first in favor, second opposed, and then third as interested may appear. So first round, I will call anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed rezone 5A1. Please identify yourself this time. You can either unmute yourself over WebEx or you can approach the microphone in the back of the room. So anybody wishing to speak in favor of 5A1, please identify yourself this time. I'll call one more time after this. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of item 5A1, please identify yourself this time. Seeing and hearing none, I'll call once. Anybody wishing to speak opposed to item 5A1, please identify yourself this time. Seeing and hearing none, I'll call once. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for item 5A1, please identify yourself this time. All right. If no one else wishes to testify for this application, I'm now declaring the public hearing on 5A1, Sean Jansen, rural residential to commercial, town of Plover, now closed. The committee will now deliberate on the application, apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. I believe a motion to approve would be in order here. Supervisor Seefeld?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion for the petition of Sean Jensen to amend the General Code of Ordinance of Marathon County, Chapter 17, zoning code to rezone land from RR residential to C commercial as described in part of Lot 1 in the town of Plover and to approve the conclusions of law and forward to the county board.
Motion is made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Ritter. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, 5A2, back to Shad. Garrett.
This is a petition for Diane Least, petition to rezone land, staff report, April 2nd, 2024, for the Environmental Resources Committee. Petitioner is Tim Vreeland at 6103 Dawn Street, Weston, Wisconsin, 54476. Property owner is Diane Least, 142475 County Road Double N, Marathon, Wisconsin, 54448. Area proposed to be rezoned is located on County Road Double N, just west of the intersection of County Road Double N and County Road O. The petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Diane Least to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County, Chapter 17 zoning code to rezone lands from FP Farmland Preservation to NC Neighborhood Commercial and NC Neighborhood Commercial to FP Farmland Preservation as all of Lot 1 of CSM 16068, located in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter and the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter. Lot 1 of CSM 9724, located in the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter and that part of the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 3, Township 28 North, Range 6 East, Town of Marathon. Area proposed to be rezoned to NC Neighborhood Commercial is described as Lot 1, and area to be rezoned to FP Farmland Preservation is described as Lot 2 of the preliminary CSM. Parcel numbers is listed. The Town of Marathon Town Board met on March 6th, 2024. Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee is meeting today, April 2nd, 2024 at 3 p.m. A legal advertisement was published in the Wausau Daily Herald. Notice of the zoning change request was also sent by regular mail to adjacent property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. On March 6, 2024, the Town of Marathon Town Board recommended approval to Marathon County's Environmental Resources Committee. The rezone meets all the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The rezone also appears to be consistent with the purpose and intent of the town's comprehensive plan and as indicated by the town resolution. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, and the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning. Therefore, CPZ staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Should the rezone be approved by Marathon County Board of Supervisors, CPZ staff recommend that the town update its comprehensive plan to reflect the zoning change if applicable.
All right, any questions for Garrett? So I will disclose that I did talk with the town chair for the town of Marathon, primarily because they're very proud of their farmland preservation. I was very confused why they were taking land out of farmland preservation, but then ultimately adding land back into farmland preservation. Is it fair to say that this is a correction due to the use of that current land right now?
Correct. It appears that the ballroom at Memories there that's owned by Diane Least they're correcting some property lines. Parts of the septic may be on the other property, and then they're correcting the use with that field actually being farmed.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Garrett. All right, moving on to public testimony. For calling those first in favor, I'll call once. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of 5A, do please identify yourself at this time. Calling once for opposed. Anybody wishing to speak opposed to the proposed rezone request for item 5A2, please identify yourself at this time. Lastly, calling once. Anybody wishing to speak as interested for item 5A2, please identify yourself at this time. Seeing as no one else wishes to testify for this application, I'm now declaring the public hearing on Tim Vreeland on behalf of Diane Leist, Farmland Preservation, Neighborhood Commercial, and Neighborhood Commercial to Farmland Preservation, Town of Marathon, now closed. The committee will now deliberate on the application, apply to the standards of the zoning ordinance. Anyone like to make a motion? I think there's another one be appropriate to approve. Supervisor Seefeld?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion for the petition of Tim Vreeland on behalf of Diane Least to amend the General Code of Ordinance for Marathon County Chapter 17 Code to rezone land from FP, Farmland Preservation, to NC, Neighborhood Commercial, and from NC, Neighborhood Commercial, to FP, Farmland Preservation, as of all Lot 1 in the town of Marathon, and to pass all the conclusions of the law and forward it to the county board.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Vensky. Any further discussion? The correct pronunciation, Marathon, or is it Marathon? Marathon or Marathon? Marathon? Yeah. All right. I guess, right? Yeah. All right.
Are you a local or not?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right. We got 5B, review and possible recommendations to county board for its consideration, town zoning changes pursuant to Wisconsin statute 60.62 sub 3. We have 5B1, Town of Weston, rezone 4.2 acres, AR to RR2. What you got, Garrett?
That's correct. Town of Weston has proposed to rezone 4.2 acres from AR to RR2. They did provide all the necessary documentation.
If anybody join us from the Town of Weston electronically, or no? Okay. Any questions from the committee on this one? All right. Seeing and hearing none, I think a motion to approve would be in order. Supervisor Ritter?
I will make a motion to approve the Town of Weston ordinance.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Vensky. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to 5B2. Town of Reprock Wind Energy System Siting Ordinance. So I want to start by asking Garrett, did you have anything to comment on for this one?
I do not.
Okay. So we heard about this one under public comment. I had some discussion with staff after reviewing the packet information this weekend. And after looking at what's asked of us in the statute, this is something that we don't get asked to do. I don't know if we've ever been asked to do something like this. and I'll read the statute because I pull it up. So this is 60.62 sub 3 sub A. So in counties having a county zoning ordinance, no zoning ordinance or amendment of a zoning ordinance may be adopted under the section unless approved by the county board. This paragraph applies only in counties with a population of less than 485,000 and does not apply to a town that is withdrawn from county zoning. So since the county has a zoning ordinance, that's why this town zoned ordinance ended up in front of our committee. Okay, that's important background information I want the committee members to understand. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the discussions on the western side of the county related to siting of wind projects above 100 megawatts. The towns that are on the western part of the county that have chosen to regulate that have primarily chosen to do it through a licensing ordinance, okay? This one is different because the town of Reprock has chosen to amend its zoning ordinance. They are a town zone town to, the way it appears, regulate those larger projects, okay? I do not believe we've ever been asked to look at something like this. I cannot remember ever being asked to look at something like this, to be honest with you, especially because those other ordinances have been licensing ordinances. I've asked Corporation Counsel, I think Mike and I talked yesterday in the morning about what is primarily the ask of the county as far as a review of this ordinance or whether or not we actually have to approve the ordinance itself. Based on that, it looks like an approval. And because this is such a novel area that we haven't looked into before, I think it would be beneficial for this committee to look into this after staff have looked into it at the next meeting. That is my thought. Now, I, of course, want to hear from other members of this committee, and I would also like to hear from our Corporation Counsel as well for his thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate tossing the ball over here. You read the statute that I looked at after we spoke yesterday as well. The key point there is that the ordinance may not be adopted unless it's approved by the county board. So when you say approved, what does that mean? Does that mean we review it for legality? Does that mean we review it for consistency with the town's comprehensive plan? The statute doesn't further define that. And this is a unique type of amendment to a zoning ordinance that we haven't seen. Because of that, I know I would benefit from some additional time to look into that question, to be able to advise the committee and ultimately the board on, what is the scope of its approval. But it's up to you how you choose to move forward.
Other thoughts from the committee? Supervisor Drabek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, they have an annual meeting coming up at Town of Reprock, and they'd like to answer to their citizens as well. I'm just wondering, is there any way that we can pass this pending what, if Mike finds something that, no, we can't do this, then it would shut it off? Or can we, any way that we can start the process here, or we get it passed a little, and then if it wouldn't go through the full board if he finds something by then? Just kind of trying to make this work a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So thank you, Supervisor Drabek. So that's a good point for multiple reasons, which is we've been presented with this ordinance. So in my opinion, the work has already begun with us starting to review it, right? I reviewed it over the weekend. I, of course, had numerous questions. That's why I called Mike, because if you compare this to the other traditional land use questions that we get, like the preceding one, those are, in my opinion, they are zoning issues, but they're two different things. One is a lot more, that's the word I'm looking for. One requires a lot more intensive research, right? Because we depend on those towns to do the zoning ordinance because they're town zoned, right? Because I don't want this committee to get into the business of quashing town ordinances or amendments, right? Otherwise, what's the point of having town zoning, right? Like that shouldn't be our role. So when the statute says approved there, that's why I have a legal question. That's why this gets brought up, okay? Normally I'd ask Mike, if we were like in the middle of a term, like we just call a special meeting after he's had a sufficient amount of time to look into it, but the election causes a wrinkle, right? So I don't know how to address it before that third Tuesday in April, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because if the county says, oh, we'll approve it from ERC and send it up to the county board, but we still have lingering questions, did we really approve it? Right? You know, I'm trying to, the process has been initiated. We can all agree on that. It's in front of us. I just want us to make sure that when we pass this as a board, that all 38 supervisors can stand behind it, because we did our jobs here. So I don't know if that answered your question. I don't know. It's a tough situation. Because the other half of it is, it gets up to the county board and then we all get ambushed, and we don't like that, do we, folks? Right? Go ahead, Supervisor Drabek, I'm sorry.
Yeah, now if I can just remember what my train of thought was, I'm just wondering
Annual
with the
meeting.
number of new supervisors that will be coming on, right? And then we're gonna have to explain this whole thing to them, right? So at least here we have people that kind of, we've been here for a while.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, but it goes back to that point of how many times we've been asked to do wind sighting how many times have we been asked to review wind sighting in a town ordinance, right? Rick,
None that I know of,
you've been
yeah.
with me for 8 years, right? Oh, you've been with me for 8 years too.
Right.
You know, Mike, you've been here 2 years. We've never asked, Andrew, right? You know, that's why I have questions, and I've made them known to Mike, and he's looking into them. But Mike, you got chips cases and whatever other things you got on your plate right now too, right?
It's fair to say that I have a few things on my plate,
Sure.
yes.
Gas rights, all that wonderful stuff. What I would like to do to make a good sign of faith to the town of Reprock, because Lionel did take time out of his day to come here today. He braved the snowstorm and everything. I appreciate the conversation that I had with him prior to this meeting. I would like this to be taken up at our May meeting with a specific date. That way it shows to the public that we will take this up. That's what I would like to do. I don't know if you want to call that a compromise, but at least tells people that we aren't going to let this slip. It will be taken up at this committee. I'm trying to make everybody happy here. So,
By third time.
I don't
Sorry about
think
that,
we're
yeah.
bound by the standing committee.
Is there anything that is being done during that annual meeting that they have to, besides telling his residents what's going on, do they have anything that has to happen during that meeting where it could either, to keep it moving on?
I don't believe so, because that wouldn't be related to the town electors. But I'll tell you something, I'll do this because Lionel took the time to show up today. I will recognize him as a member of the public. So Lionel, if you'd like to address that question, feel free to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the process that you're working through here. I just stand ready because I've been involved in this from the beginning, and so I'm intimately familiar with what's going on. And so if you call a staff meeting and you just want me to sit there and pull up resources and answer questions for you to save you the research time, I'm happy to do that to help support your due diligence in this process.
Excuse me. In regards to Supervisor Drabek's question, though, relating to the annual meeting, there's nothing that I believe at the annual meeting that the electors have to do to influence the outcome of this ordinance, correct?
That is correct, sir. We have already passed it. We've had our public hearing with our attorney president. That's Shane Vanderwall's office. So the public hearing has been conducted. Our planning committee has made the recommendation to the board for approval. And so at this point, we're just waiting for the review and acceptance by the county. To the previous comment you made about the comprehensive plan, we are in fact working with the county now to update our comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinances to reflect this. So I think that at the May meeting, or at the annual meeting, I will just reiterate what you've spoken about, the process and the workload on your part, sir, to reflect that you are taking it seriously. You want to do it the right way, and I respect that, because we too wanted to do the right thing for the right reasons in the right way.
Let me ask you this, Lionel, with my comment about the motion and having a date certain for us to take this up. Do you feel that can provide direction to your residents as far as when the county will take it up?
I think that I understand what Supervisor Drabeck was getting at, was looking for kind of a contingent approval, barring any legal issues that would invalidate it. So I think that what I can do is, I will just speak at the annual meeting and let everyone know that the uniqueness of this, because I don't think that everyone understands that this is the first ordinance you're dealing with, that, the separation, the distinction between a licensing agreement and the ordinance. So I believe I can make that explanation, do so in a favorable way, and reflect the fact that you are taking this seriously. And as I said, you want to do the right thing in the right way for the right reason.
So my next question would be to Corp Counsel, is there such thing as a contingent approval? I don't believe there is.
We haven't historically done contingent approvals. Part of the reason is, what are you really approving if it's contingent on something outside of your control? I don't recommend the idea of a contingent approval. I think it leaves too many questions about what the committee's actual action was. So it's been my experience that contingent approvals could cause more issues than they help with. So my recommendation is not to do that.
Well, I know what county zoning for those county-zoned towns that submit their stuff through us, that has been practice going all the way back to Scott, your predecessor, when he cautioned us about saying that, there have been instances with rezones where we've wanted to approve something at the committee level, but then it was like contingent upon whether or not somebody would submit some additional documentation. And I know Scott even back then said, no, that's out of bounds. So.
Yeah, I think the preference in that type of situation is wait until you get the information that you need to act. And if you don't think you have enough information to act, or you're waiting for additional information that might weigh, then you should receive that information and then make your decision. I think that applies similarly here.
Okay. Judge Drabeck? No, Lionel. Oh, did you have something to add, Lionel?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Mr. Corporate Counsel, if I may, with respect to the contingent approval approach, this committee is Environmental Resource Committee, right? So what about a contingent motion that approval subject to no negative public health, safety, or adverse environmental or resource constraint? That's really the focus of yours, isn't it? Statutorily, this has been legally drafted. I will tell you that I presented a metaphor to the residents when we were looking at the adoption, since it's a farm community. I said we can be like cattle and stay within the fence, which is complete submission to the PSC 128, or we can be like cattle who walk up to the fence and stick their neck through the fence, where we're testing the boundaries, or we can jump the fence and go with what is purely in the public health and safety concerns of our people. And admittedly, we chose to jump the fence because we believe that the PSC 128 and the Wind Siting Council's 2014 paper is outdated.
So I do want to emphasize, at this point, we are not here to debate the merits of the ordinance. Because like I told Lionel when I spoke to him on the phone, if the town of Reprock wants to do that, I'm not going to get in the town of Reprock's way. They're going to accept responsibility for that ordinance. They're going to have to deal with it. My question is what, as far as a process, does this commit the county to? Because if we're going to talk about future resources, which we've had a lot of discussions at this committee about future resources with this county and what that looks like, what is that going to do to Mike's time? What's that going to do to Lance's time? Lori's time? Sherrod, Gad, I combined them, Gad. Or we combine LCZ and ERC, that's just like that, right? Gad, what's it going to do for their time? It's a matter of process, like I said. I don't want to get dragged down into that, the debating the merits in that, because I think Reprock's already done that. They engaged with their citizens, they did all that. Because this is this is new territory. We've never done this before. And when our corporate attorney here is telling us that needs a little bit more time to look at this, I think that the wise, responsible thing to do would be just to take a little bit more time. And I think, Lionel, you can go back. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Not going to tell you what to do, okay? But you can go back to your citizens in Reap Rock and say at the annual meeting, you came to the ERC meeting here April 2nd. The process has been initiated. You expect there to be some action at our May meeting.
Understood.
You can report back to them and say what's taken place.
Okay, I will do that. And again, I offer my time, my services to any questions that may arise.
And because you have volunteered your time, I also want to make it clear that I expect staff to follow up with Lionel over the course of the next month and let him know what the process, where we stand with the process. I want to make that expectation very clear. Okay? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to follow up and make sure that I have clear direction on what the committee wants me to look into. Because if we're talking about this being an approval where we're not debating the merits of the underlying ordinance, then I'm not looking into the merits of the underlying ordinance or its legality. I'm simply looking at process. The process, I think, is clear if we're not debating the merits of the ordinance.
Well, when I say merits, I don't think that also means legality. Like your job as an attorney, right? You're supposed to look at the legality of said ordinance, correct?
If that is your direction, correct. But the legality of the ordinance.
When I say merits, I don't mean you looking at Reap Rock and saying what's best for the people of Reap Rock. They did that, right? They did that. What I mean is look at the legality piece and also look at what this entails for the county.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Risk and liability.
Risk is a good word, sure, if there is any. Okay? Okay.
Absolutely.
When is our May meeting? April 30th. Is that our next one after we've been reseated? April 30th? April 30th? Okay. All right. Anybody like to make it, well, is table or postpone preferable?
Postpone to a time definite, and I would name that April 30th.
April 30th at 3 p.m. Anybody like to make that motion? Supervisor Vensky?
I'll make a motion to make it appropriate on April 30th.
At 3 p.m.?
Yep, 3 p.m.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Supervisor Seefeld. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Lionel, I appreciate you taking time, braving the snowstorm to come here today. I appreciate your phone call today. Staff will be following up with you, and you can certainly reach out to any of us if you have additional comments, okay?
Mr. Chairman, you have my number. Supervisor Drabeck has my number, and if anybody else has it, requests it, I'm happy to provide it. Thank you for your time and your diligence.
Thank you. Safe travels. Moving on to, what else do we got here? C, review and possible recommendations to County Board for its consideration. We have none. D, review and possible recommendation 1, committee approval of final draft of farmland preservation plan for review by Corporation Council. Kirsty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't help but think, since we're on the whole GAD thing, would Lori and I be Lursty or Corey? It'd be one of those two. Please no. Okay. That's where my brain went after that. So this agenda item simply is closing the loop on the many farmland preservation plan discussions we have had over the past 6 months. As a reminder, we have published a draft of our updated farmland preservation plan, which has been available to the committee for several months. It's been posted on our website for several months, and it was recently updated to just include all the maps online within the next week or so. So it's been publicly available information. We did have a great open house at CPZ where many town officials did come and talk over the plan with us. We have received support and a few comments and edits from townships. But overall, we feel like it really is an appropriate time to receive support from the committee in terms of receiving an initial approval of our draft, and from here, it would go to Corporation Council to be reviewed for consistency with the county's comprehensive plan. So once Corporation Council agrees that it is consistent with our county's comprehensive plan, then we send our draft to the Department of Agriculture in Madison. And once they confirm that everything is looking in line with their standards, then it comes back to this committee for approval and then on to the full county board for approval. So there will be additional chances after this. Continue to make comments, or if there's, some type of public commentary that comes out about it. This is not a final approval. This is approval of a draft to be forwarded to Corporation Council. So that is our ask of you today.
Any questions for Kirsty? Okay, so Kirsty described the process. It'll go to Mike. From Mike, it goes to the state. We'll have a final stab at it before adoption, before it goes up to the county board. Really, I think this is more housekeeping. I talked to Lori about this yesterday. I said, why do we need to approve this before it goes to our attorney, right? Doesn't make sense, but apparently that's what's required in the statute, so. All right, motion to do so would be in order, I believe. Supervisor Ritter?
I will make a motion to approve the final draft for a farmland preservation plan
And continue along with the process.
and continue along with the process as stated.
Sounds good. Motion is made. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drabek. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. 6, educational presentations, outcome monitoring reports and committee discussion. A, department updates, conservation planning and zoning, park, rec, and forestry, conservation planning and zoning. 1, update on town of Plover proposed text amendment changes related to shipping and storage containers. Garrett.
Okay, I think Shad is working on getting it up onto the WebEx right now. But while he's doing that, I'll just explain kind of what the process, how the language that's in front of you now came to be. So on March 5th, here at this committee, the direction was given to our department to reach out to towns regarding any additional standards that they wanted to see if the shipping container ordinance were to be approved. What we did is taking the comments that we received prior to March 5th, and then the direction given by ERC, we decided, we went and drafted some additional language with some additional standards to it. What you see before you is what was drafted, and then we did send that off to the town of Plover, who took it up at their March 12th meeting, and they did approve the amendment to the amendment petition, you could say. So at this point, I'm just here to answer any questions.
Has this proposed change been communicated? You said the town of Plover's seen this already. What's been their reaction?
Correct. We sent it to the town of Plover for them to review on March 12th, and they did come back and say the town board did support this new language. And from there, it was sent out to the other towns, along with a letter kind of explaining the process, why they're seeing this for a second time, and then asking for comments. We haven't gotten any comments yet, but my plan is to, since today is election day,
They probably aren't having their meetings until next week.
Right. My plan is later this week to call each county's own town to make sure that they got this and that they're planning to review it.
Okay, did you put a due date on the letter as far as when they need to have the feedback back?
I did. I believe it is 4 or 5 days prior to the next ERC meeting. So prior to April 30th.
April 30th. I mean, they'll be busy with their town meetings, but maybe they'll have time. My town planning commission did meet, by the way. We were talking about this last month. They didn't approve the changes, so I'm glad that staff has taken the initiative to look into maybe another way for the town of Plover to seek what they're going for here. That being said, I think we should just wait on this until we get that feedback from the other counties' own towns. We'll go from there.
I believe.
And thank you, by the way, for keeping the town of Plover updated. So.
Yep.
Chair Longenhahn, I was just going to add, when we send it to the towns, we always do ask them to report back to us if they need more time beyond the deadline. So I know a lot of them hold their annual meetings in April, so they might not.
Well, all of them do. So, well, I should say 99.99% of them do. There's
So if they need more time, they can also put that to us, and then we can bring you back an update at the April 30th meeting.
Yep. Okay. So no real ask today, just an update. So the saga continues. The saga of the storage containers continues. All right. That all, Garrett?
That's it.
Cool. All right. 7, policy issues, discussion, potential committee determination. We have none. 8, next meeting date, April 30th, 2024, 3 p.m., assembly room and future agenda items. A, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. B, announcements, requests, correspondence. Staff, do you have anything? No? All right, well, it's the end of the year for us, or I should say the end of the term for us. For those of you that are moving on from, county board, public service, whatever you want to call it, we appreciate your service, we really do. For those of you who've got elections today, honestly, yeah. No, I was, and that's for everybody that served on this committee. I was talking to Supervisor Drabeck a little while ago about everything that we accomplished this term. And if you think of things like the aerators and updating the land and water plan, this is probably the most productive session that I've seen from this group, honestly. I think it's because we had a really good work group this term. So I thank you all for your service. And I thank staff as well for everything that they've done for us. What's that? Oh, whatever, Rick. For those of you that have got elections today, best wishes, everything. Thank you for being such a good group. I want to speak on behalf of Vice Chair Drabeck, but as Chair and Vice Chair, it's been great to work with you all. So,
I would agree.
good. Okay.
We've had a lot of good discussions.
Yes, we have. That's kind of a hallmark of this group, really. Yeah. Okay, that's all I've got. Item number 9. Motion by Supervisor Seefeld, second by Supervisor Vensky. Any further discussion? Started late, ending early. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, staff.
I gotta go vote for myself.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. I gotta go vote too yet.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.
Hey, Chair, are we going?
I'm just gonna.
I gotta go vote.
Seeing who's coming and going.
It's 3:40. Yeah. I got 1 hour.